When I ran for president, I made a commitment to the American people to repeal and replace Obamacare. I am pleased to report that we are very, very close to ending this health care nightmare. We are so close.
That was President Trump in his weekly video address, sounding confident that Senate Republicans will secure enough votes to pass their health care bill. They've lost 2. They're at 50. They can't afford another loss. Outside of a few remarks and a couple of Twitter posts, the president, however, hasn't done much else to drum up public support or sway reluctant members of his own party. Shannon, Jason, and Jim are back with us. Jason, here's the question. Is the GOP better off if the president owns it or stays away from it?
I think they'd be better off if the president owns it. To be perfectly honest with you, Brian, Donald Trump, for all of the problems associated with him, he is the best salesperson for this plan. He has to be out in front of it. He needs to do a sit down and explain this bill. I have said all along, if you're trying to do something with the ACA, it's like Jenga. You can't pull out pieces without the whole thing falling apart. And the only way that they're going to lift this out of the pit of having a 12 to 17% approval rating is if Donald Trump can explain it. The problem is, I don't think he can, because I don't think he knows that much about policy, and so it's left to senators who aren't nearly as effective in selling things as the President of the United States.
Now, Shannon, take the other side, and I realize this calls for a judgment on your part. Are the Democrats better off if they get in there and say, folks, this is our chance to do something great, or if they don't own it at all and just continue to watch this?
I don't think the Democrats have much to gain by working with the president, by working with Republicans on this, unless 2 things happen. They drop the repeal Obamacare language and stop making this about Obama and partisanship and start making this about health care, and if they lay off the Medicaid expansion. And I think increasingly, and I've been hearing people say this from the very beginning, maybe we should set the Medicaid part aside and say, Republicans can say, we'll get back to Medicaid reform later. Let's just look at stabilizing the individual private marketplace exchanges. That's where a lot of the concern is in these states with insurers pulling out. But that's a very small piece of the Affordable Care Act, of Obamacare. So maybe we just focus on that and don't touch Medicaid, and we can say we'll deal with that later. But that's what's causing the mutiny among most of the Democrats. That's what's causing the mutiny among the Republican governors. So that's where I see the path forward. But it was interesting to see the president's remarks about, oh, we're so close. He told reporters just a few days ago on Air Force One that the only thing more difficult than health care is negotiating peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. So he knows this is a tough sell. This is a tough road ahead. And they've really got to find a path.
Yeah, I caught that remark. And Jim, if we went onto the streets of any city or town in your state, I am guessing thoughts, questions, and concerns about health care outnumber the same about Russia about 10 to 1, because this is a real human issue, and this is causing genuine anxiety.
Well, especially Arizona. Every single one of our counties next year will only have 1 insurer available on the Obamacare exchanges. We're going to see probably around a 25% increase in premiums after a 116% increase last year, the largest of any state. So people, yeah, they want to see something done. The problem is, your colleague Chuck Todd and I were talking this morning on my show, and he pointed out that the Senate health care bill really, as Rand Paul had explained to me a couple of days before that, really is Obamacare in a lot of ways. I mean, it keeps a lot of the regulations, it keeps a lot of the taxes, and it kind of sets it up so that when the Democrats are back in power, and as we all know, they will be at some point or another, they can just kind of reinsert everything else that is taken out, even if it may fall apart as a Jenga game, as Professor Johnson had actually suggested. So, but, you know, here in Arizona, this is something that is that people really want to talk about, because they feel like Obamacare is just circling the bowl at this point, and it just can't sustain itself.
An interesting note to end on, and that'll have to do it with our thanks to Shannon Pettypiece, Jason Johnson, and Jim Sharp. We'll do it again.
Thanks.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. When we come